Welcome everybody, welcome back to Homestead Heart. I'll take a load off for a second. Taking a load off for just a quick second. I got my hip pack. Mrs. C, I got my hip pack. I wear it all the time. I really needed that. Helps me to keep up with stuff. Glasses included. So I was sitting here off and I was looking over at this cover that belongs to Mr. H for his grill, and from underneath the cover all I see is something going like this, right? And I'm like, what in the world is that constantly so this is like my second time starting this video, but I'm like, what in the world is that constantly moving back and forth, and then it'll stop and then all of a sudden it'll just go. And I couldn't see nothing, and so when I got up and I started walking over there, I see one of my little cats on the ground upside down with his little paw just going. And I don't know what it is that he's hitting, but whatever it is hanging down, and he's literally just hitting it back and forth, causing it to swing back and forth. And I'm like, you crazy kitty. But anyway, you all, welcome back to the channel. And you all saw the title of the video, so I'm going to go ahead and get into it. Y'all, I kid you not, we truly almost lost everything. But by the grace and mercy of Almighty God, we did not, and I am so grateful. We are all just so very grateful. You all, we literally were very close and had no idea. We had no idea that this was even happening. Again, you all know we've been having work done on our house here and there. If you remember, over a year ago, we had a storm come through, did a lot of damage to our home. More than what we thought, right? So, we've had some work going on. Now, in the meantime and in between time, remember my stove quit on me. So we had the gas company to come out to make sure that there was nothing wrong with the lines, because remember we had the propane just spewing all in the house, right? When my stove was on, then it shut itself off. And gas just all in the house, right? And so they came out to make sure that there were no problems with my gas line, where they were to come out to make sure that there were no problems with my gas line. So I was waiting for them. And then somebody knocks at the back door, and then of course Jackson goes crazy, and you know, little Bud, hey Bud, I'm talking about you right now. I'm talking about you right now. So, hey, you want to wave? You do? Oh, you heavy. Wave. You heavy. You are so heavy. Chunky. But anyway, you also, when somebody comes to the back door, I'm like, why would he come to the back door? Maybe because the tank is in the back of the house and he was going to shut the gas off first, I guess, right? So when I open the door, you know, and I look at him, I'm like, you don't look like my propane guy. And that's when he told me that he was with the power company. And he said, I'm going to have to shut your power off for a few minutes. And I'm like, right now? He's like, yeah. He says, very urgent. We got to shut it off right now. So they shut it off. I'm like, okay. He said, your meter isn't reading. Right? He said, your meter stopped reading. No, he said you had spikes in your meter reading 3 days ago. Then yesterday it kept spiking, and then today it just stopped altogether. So they came out to check it. And when he turned the power off and he opened the box and he pulled the meter out, he came back and he was like, you really need to see this. And when he showed it to me, I'm like, is it really, I mean, is that what I think it is? And he said, yeah. He said, your meter is burning up. Literally burning up. And once he pulled the meter out and showed me the meter, y'all, he showed me the wires coming from the power line down to the pole into the box behind the meter. And those wires were burned to a crisp. In fact, when he touched them, they were just still hot, you know, compared to the other wires. They were still very, very hot. And all of that led to other people having to come out. You know, it was something. You know, it led to a lot of other people coming out, and then the electrician had to come out, and the line people had to come out. You know, of course they're trying to make sure that there's nothing wrong with their power lines, right? So they called those people out, and it wasn't. It was our meter and the wires, all of it, the whole, not the meter itself, but the box. I forgot what he called it. I can't think of the name of it. But in any case, that attaches to your house and the power company's not responsible for that, you are kind of responsible for that, right? And you all, when our electrician came out, I told him, well, the power company guy asked me, he said, did you see any signs of this? And I said, no. I saw no signs whatsoever that we were having an issue. He said the lights weren't flickering. I said, no, we never had no light flickerings. I'm like, everything is working normal as it always has been. We've never had any issues, you know, with this, like this, you know. And so when our electrician came out, I told him, I said, well, he asked if we had had any, you know, signs if the power was flickering on and off. And I told him, I said, no, we didn't. And our electrician said, the only sign you would have had was when your house was burning down. He said there was no way you would have known this. You would not have known this until the house was burning. And he told us, he said, I literally just left a job yesterday. Just left a job yesterday where this same thing happened, but this guy wasn't so lucky. A lot of his house burned as a result. And so there was literally nothing he can do at that point. And they do these all the time, they say. You know, they do these all the time. The only issue is that it's not nearly as bad as ours. I think the guy said all 4 lugs on the back of our meter were completely burned. And when I saw the wires, I knew it was bad. I mean, the wires were like charcoal. I knew it was really bad. And so they had to shut our power off. We had no power. In the heat of the day and nights, we had no power. So we had to wait to get our power back on because by the time that it was all figured out what needed to happen, it was late. And our electrician was saying this is at least a 5 to 6 hour job, right? And we understood that, at least 5 to 6 hours. So he couldn't come out the next day because the very next morning and after an evening he had 2 other jobs similar, and he knew it was going to take him all day. And so he knew he couldn't come out the next day to handle it. So he kind of let us know when. So we started trying to find another electrician that could come out and take care of it for us. And everybody that we talked to, well, I can't come out right now. I can't come out tomorrow, you know. It'll have to be 3 days, or it'll have to be 6 days, or, you know. And we were like, oh my goodness. 6 days, no power, right? Yeah, 6 days, no power. So, to say the least, our electrician called us back to let us know that the job that he had to do, not the following day, but the day after that, you know, they were willing to push that job um, further out to come and take care of us, right? Which is what they did, because our situation was, it was very urgent. You know what I'm saying? It was hot and we had no power whatsoever. So what did we do without the whole power thing? I'm going to talk to y'all about that in another video, because that's definitely going to be another video, because I don't want this one to run too long. But y'all, I'm telling you, our house could have burned down and we would have had no idea. And this all had to have happened within a 3 to 4 day period, right? 3 to 4 day period, because the meter had just started spiking 3 days prior. So perhaps the day before, or sometimes the next day maybe, they started getting these weird signals or these weird readings from our meter to the power company. And I'm telling you, they came out, once they realized, no, this has to be something else going on. And, the power guy, I'm going to be honest with you, when he shut it off, we've dealt with some people that work for the power company that, when issues come up, y'all, some of them have the worst and nastiest attitude, to where they do not care. In fact, we've experienced that before. When we had another storm come through, and our power box for, we have a separate power box for the water, right? And the trees that were there came down, knocked the pole down, power lines down all over the ground, right? And when the guy came out, he told us what had to happen, but there was nothing they can do about that. That's when we learned that, there's certain things that the power company does and don't do. And so we're like, okay, we got to get an electrician out here and, get a lot of things, in place with the power pole and all of that, just to make sure that we have everything in place so the electrician can do what he has to do. And all we literally needed was just a few minutes to get some extra water put in, buckets or whatever for our animals and whatnot, just to make sure we had plenty of water for our animals and stuff, until we could get that power box back installed. And he would not wait. He just shut the power off. He said, no, I can't do this. This is a safety hazard. Well, there's nobody here but you. There's nobody here but you and me and my husband, and you can't give us 5 minutes to fill up some containers that ain't nowhere near this power line for our animals, and you sit in your truck while we do it, and then you can turn off. We've dealt with some I'll save it. I'll say that word. But this guy was so, he was like, I know this is horrible. I know this is bad. I know it's bad. He said, I know it's bad, and I wish I didn't have to do this right now. I know, he said, he was so empathetic. He was so empathetic. And he was calling electricians, too, to see if they could come out here. He was literally trying to help us, right? And, of course, that was above and beyond. He didn't have to do that. But he was trying to find us electricians, too. And he was very empathetic. And he was like, I'm really sorry about this, And we're talking 1 o'clock in the evening. Who in the world are you going to get to come out on such short notice? Like, well, in our area, an electrician, that was next to impossible for us, And the one guy that did come out, he came out, it was like 6 o'clock to at least assess the problem, right? And so he came out and looked at it. But he said, yeah, I can do it, but I know I can't do this today because how much time it's going to take. And not to mention, it started raining. So we knew he couldn't do it that day. He said, but I could come back in a couple of days and I can definitely get it done for you, right? And then our electrician came and he looked at it. He's like, yeah, I can do it, but I know I can't do it today. This is at least a 5 or 6 hour job, right? So, you all, long story short, we really have to learn to be prepared for things like this. And we were not. We were not. I'm going to talk about that. We were totally caught off guard, getting just a little bit too comfortable, right? Totally off guard with that. You know, that was the last thing I expected, was to have my power shut off for a few days, right? Because of that box. And I'm going to tell you something. The components to that box was put on that house in the 70s. That box had been on the house for over 50 years. Probably a different meter, but the box itself had been on the, well, I don't know, that meter looked kind of old. It wasn't a digital kind of, I don't know if it was it wasn't the digital kind that's on there now. It didn't look nothing like the one we got on there now that the power company comes out and put in. That old meter looked nothing like that. And our box that's on the house now, that box don't look anything like the box that, in fact, we had 2 separate boxes on the house that don't look anything like the box that we have on there now. And the electrician said they don't even make these no more. They stopped making these in the late 80s. I mean, in the early 80s. They don't even make these anymore. I'm like, what? You know, but he said, you all were truly blessed. He said, this thing was literally moments away from catching on fire, just moments away from burning your entire house down. I'm like, wow. And we could have been in the house sleeping in the middle of the night or in the middle of the morning. We could have been in the house sleeping, but God didn't let it be. Yes, we were very uncomfortable, but alive, right? It was a miserable situation, but our house is still standing. It was hot and man, but we're still here, and we were able to, by God's grace and mercy, get it taken care of. So y'all, I'm telling you, it's something else I'm going to talk to y'all about too in another video. I'm going to do 2 videos today, 2 additional videos today, kind of along the same line, because this video is already almost 20 minutes long. But you all, I'm going to do another video because it's something that we must do if we possibly can. We must do it. I don't care how long it takes us to do it. We must do it. And I'm going to talk about that here in the next video. But y'all, our house is still standing. We got our power box put back on our house, and the power company came out. We have a new meter now, and they said everything looks great. The line company, they came out too. Now, I'm going to tell you, once he came out to actually put our box up, it literally took him about 5.5 hours. He started, and then he had his assistant came in about 3.5 hours later, and he was helping him too. And they worked together to get it done. And he literally, when he finished, he stayed here. Let me see, he finished at about 7:30-ish that night. And we called the power company and to let them know that it was done so they can send somebody out to reconnect the lines. Well, first send the guy out from the power company to make sure that the wires look good, and they had to inspect it and before they would put the meter in. And once the meter, then they had to call the line company, and they had to come back out and reconnect the line back to our house, right? So when he finished with all of that, waiting for the line company, you all, he waited for 2 hours. He waited for till almost 10 o'clock. And they still hadn't shown up, and we was like, oh my goodness. Oh my goodness, what are we gonna do? They probably not. And I just told him, and I said, you know what? I've called them twice, and I honestly just don't think they're coming. You don't have to keep waiting. We just appreciate you getting it taken care of. And he said, no, I'm gonna wait about 30 more minutes and see if they come. And they did not come. And we just had prepared to just kind of struggle it out again. And we were not here alone either. Our grandchildren are here, and so we were like, okay, okay. So 10:35, right? About 10:35, something like that. I'm gonna say 10:37 because that's what time I remember. 10:37. And I seen no, my dogs Grizzly and Tamu started going crazy, right? And I saw lights everywhere. And Mr. H had fallen asleep, and I woke him up and I told him, I said, I think that's the line company that's outside. And he got up, and sure enough, it was them with those big old trucks with the bucket and all of that. And they came in and they looked at everything, and they got the lines. And Mr. H went out there. He was holding the flashlight to help them see, just because it was dark, y'all. It was almost 11 o'clock at night. And they were looking at everything. And that other guy that was here that night, 10:30, when he looked at that old meter, he was like, y'all are really lucky. When he looked at it, he said, y'all are really lucky. I said, no, we are truly blessed. We are truly blessed, right? So he said, yeah, we're going to get y'all taken care of. They had some other big call. That's why it took them 2 hours, because even the electrician said they're normally pretty good about getting out here when you call them, especially when the family has no power for something like this. He said, this is an urgent matter. And they normally pretty good. But, after the fact, we learned that it was something major going on somewhere else. And, they had about 10 trucks out there somewhere. So that's what took them so long. But when they got here, they got us taken care of and got our power. And when he got us connected, the power still didn't come on. And I was like, oh my goodness, now what? He said, no, just go flip your breaker. And so I went in there, and I'm like, okay. I didn't even know our electrician had turned the main breaker off in the house. I didn't even understand why he would need to do that, since there was no power line running to the house anyway. But I guess he did it as a precaution. But when I went in there and flipped the breaker, y'all, everything came on. And I'm gonna tell you, it's like that was like one of the best feelings, to see the power, the lights come back on, and to hear my air conditioner come back on, because it was hot. That was such a great feeling, because I was more concerned about the little ones than anything. And then, of course, I'm concerned about Mr. H getting his rest, because he has to work these long hours. So I was very concerned about him too. And yeah, just a lot, just a lot. And he was concerned about me and them too. But it was very, very hot. It was very hot. So what did we do? I'm gonna tell y'all in the next video what we did, because we got to be prepared for stuff like this. And man, did we get caught slipping on that one. We really got caught slipping on that big time, right? And I told Mr. H, that can never happen again, because anything could happen to where you lose power, and who knows how long you'll be without it, right? So you have to think about things like that and prepare yourself and your family as best you can, right? We shouldn't get comfortable, which is what we did. Yeah, that's what we did. We got a little comfortable. We wasn't even thinking about something like, why would we? Why would we think about our meter quitting? Why would we think about that? Our biggest concern was, possible hurricane coming this way. That was our biggest concern. right? But and even in that concern, we really weren't concerned about losing power because we were monitoring the path of the storm. So we weren't really even concerned about it coming our way and doing any damage really at all, you know. So in situations like this, you know, we really have to always be vigilant and be on guard for things like we just can't let things like this happen, you know, because y'all just thank just thank God, right? Just thank God that it wasn't worse than it was. And you know, when the guy from the power company, he was being so empathetic and so apologetic and whatnot, you know. And I told him, I said, you know what? I said, I really understand. I say because at least our house didn't burn down. I say, yeah, this is not a good situation right now, and I'm just glad that our house didn't catch fire, you know. And in the meantime and in between time, the propane guy had showed up and I didn't even know. He was here checking the gas and all of that. And even he was like, wow, that's really something. I sure hate that's happening to y'all, you know. And I'm like, yeah, we do too. So, needless to say, the propane guy couldn't check what he needed to check from the, you know, he checked the gas line, but there was something else he needed to check that required power on the inside of the house, and he couldn't do that. So, you know, it was no problem. They came back yesterday and made sure we were good. So, and we were. So, y'all, I'm telling you, we really could have lost everything, but God didn't let it be. And we are so thankful and so grateful. We are so thankful. We are so very thankful. You know, so yeah, we still have our house. We still have our health and strength. They did not, thank God, they did not have to worry with our box, our breaker box on the inside of the house. Thank goodness they didn't have to do anything in there because he said, you know, that really gets expensive when you start talking about replacing things like this. And you know, he said that really gets costly. And so he said, thank goodness that really like that that was the biggest weight right there, was just praying that none of that had to be tampered, had to be touched at all. And so it was mainly the wires from, you know, from coming from under the house coming up into the box. Those were good, but the wires coming down, those were burnt up. And then the meter in the middle burnt up, and then everything down here, I don't know if it would have been affected or not, but they got to it in time. And yeah, everything was just smut. It was just, man, it was charcoal up in there, right? Yeah. And our electrician, he really let us know y'all were moments away. Y'all wouldn't have even known about this until the whole house was engulfed. Mm-hmm. So we're so thankful, y'all. So to everybody that pray for us, even when ain't nothing wrong, we sure appreciate it, because God definitely answers prayers. You know how they say you better stay prayed up? So we really appreciate y'all so much, y'all. But y'all, this video 30 minutes long. Ooh, I'm so glad our house is okay. I'm so glad our family is okay, because what would we have done if our house would not have come through that? What would we have done? I don't even want to know. I don't even want to think about it. I mean, I don't even want to think about that, because the truth be told, I honestly don't know. I honestly don't know. Mhm. You know, I mean, in the, you know, I mean, when you think about something like that, it starts going through your head. You know, where would you have lived until they rebuilt your home? And would the insurance company have paid for the entire home to be rebuilt, or would they have done some depreciation mess, right? You know, and that's another video that I have to do too, talking about farmers insurance. You all, I'm gonna tell you, that is probably the worst insurance company in this country. Well, they might be tied with State Farm. I don't care how many commercials they do, making it look like they care and all of that, y'all. That don't believe the hype. That's a bunch of lies. It's all lies, right? But we're gonna talk about Farmers Insurance and just how wicked that company really is. Just how wicked they really are, right? But y'all, that's gonna do it for this video. I gotta talk about that other video about what did we do when we were without power. What did we do? It wasn't pretty, but we made it through. All right, y'all, that's gonna do it for this video. If you haven't done so already, don't forget to give our video a thumbs up, subscribe to our channel, and hit the notification bell so you don't miss any videos we upload to our channel. Thank y'all again for watching Homestead Heart. Thank you for everybody who always pray for us, who always remembers us in prayer. We surely appreciate it. Peace and blessings to each and every one of you, and I'm gonna see y'all in the next video.